Hello there! Wow, what a miracle, another video after such little time. I think this is the first time I've ever uploaded two videos so closely together on YouTube. But I don't know, I just felt sort of like making another one. The other one, it was so much fun and I wanted to paint something else. So in this video I'm doing a Draw This Again challenge of one of the first videos that I actually ever uploaded to YouTube. It was a speed paint that I did in 2012. And I'd done a pencil sketch at school, I remember, and then I imported the sketch into Photoshop and I painted over it and did all the things. You can check that out if you dig far enough in my channel, but please don't, it's kind of terrible. But here I am doing like a recreation of that drawing, and doing with the techniques that I learned now, see how much I improved and all that. I'm not going to talk too much about the method and all the like special things that I did in this particular painting. I wanted to talk more about improvement in drawing in general. If you want to learn more about my method in particular that I'm doing here, because I did essentially the same thing in my last video, I'll leave a link in the card to my last video. So yeah, I wanted to talk about improvement in art and why it's such an elusive thing. And I know that there's so many videos of people talking about this, and I don't think that I'm all that amazing really, but I think that I'm at the point where if the me from 2012, the me that did that other drawing, saw what I can do now, she'd be absolutely floored. And even right now, even currently, every once in a while I just take a step back to look at what I've painted and I'm just like, did I really make that? It doesn't seem like something I'd be able to do because I've never really been particularly artistically inclined, but I've just really liked it, so I've worked really hard to learn things and practice things and all that. So in terms of improvement, it's really difficult. Like when you're first starting out, you learn a lot of things really quickly, but then when you get more of an intermediate level, when you've done like the bare bones and then you need to like iron out a lot of details, it gets a lot harder to improve and it feels like a losing battle a lot of the time, especially when you try to do so many things that they don't come out how you envisioned it, or you can't get proper ideas and you're completely lost and all that. I felt like I was in a bit of a rut just as soon as 3 months ago. I had no idea where my art was going, I had no idea what to do, what was wrong with it, why I wasn't completely satisfied, and like I still did things that I really liked and I still impressed myself all the time, but I just felt like I wasn't where I wanted to be, and then it was just a thing of perseverance. You just keep going and then eventually you'll be happier, and you're never satisfied really. If you think like the big artists like, I don't know, Tsukimi-chan or even people like Mark Riley that or published authors or just anyone really, you'd think they'd be on top of the world with how their art is and how awesome they are, but in reality they're never truly satisfied either. They have people that they look up to. Maybe if they're a brilliant character artist, they'll be looking up to an environmental artist and be like, how do you draw such pretty environments? How can I do that? I need to do that better. So on how to improve could be, because that's the big question. I could talk about like wanting to improve and trying to improve for ages, but the how is less simple. The how is actually very simple. It's just practice, and that's horrible to hear, and I've come to the conclusion of that it was practice for the last like 4 or 5 years maybe. Like I've known that it was practice, but it's so much easier said than done, right? So I don't know, I think I have a few tips on practicing. Like try to kind of guide your practice for things that you think you need work on. For example, if you can't make poses or you can't put characters how you want them, do some gesture studies. If you can't really draw from the imagination, do a study from reference and then try to recreate it from imagination like right after while it's fresh in your mind, kind of thing. And it's stuff that you really need to work on, and I think the hardest part in improvement is finding the motivation to do it properly. Because if you're not motivated, like, oh, I'm going to draw and I'm going to practice today, then it's just really hard to get practicing it. It's easier to just, oh, that's a nice idea and I like drawing this character, so I'll just draw this character, and then it's very easy to get stuck in the drawing the same thing over and over and over again, and then it's nice and you do improve that way, but you improve very slowly. So I think a good mixture of doing things that you enjoy, like this particular redraw, like at the point that I did the original one, drawing just the face. See, I didn't even do the top of the head in the original one. You'll see it the next time it pops up that the head is cut off, because I didn't really know how the skull kind of finished off, or the hair, how it looked at the top. But now it's a bit of an old hat doing something like this. It's like a simple pose, it's just a face, the expression isn't all that extreme, though I did struggle with the expression a bit, but that's just because you always struggle a bit with something, it never comes out just how you want it. The hands, at that point, they were like a nightmare, they were an impossibility completely to me. The colouring, I was trying to do some blending, but then I tried this, I had Paint Tool, because I work on a Mac, and I had Paint Tool Sci for, well, I still have it on my Mac, but it doesn't work with pressure sensitivity on the Mac. It might now, but it didn't then. So like, it was just, I tried to use it because all Sci users looked like wizards to me at that point. They still are wizards actually, but I didn't know how to blend properly in Photoshop, so I imported it to Sci, and then it just didn't work because I did the Sci blending, but then I added a Photoshop texture on top of it, and it just didn't really work out. But yeah, it's things that you need to experiment, you need to do to find out how to get better. And now this sort of an illustration, it wasn't totally easy, but I didn't really push myself. I tried to make it a bit more complicated with the lighting, because I did a light blue gradient in the background, and so I did a reflected light, I cooled down all the colours, I made everything try to be more cohesive, and that did take a bit more brain power. But yeah, this isn't a challenging illustration. The illustration I did in my last video was a bit more challenging because it was a bit more background heavy, and I'm not used to background. And then the two illustrations I did in Photoshop before, those really pushed me, because it was a lot more ambitious in terms of composition, and it wasn't just a character, it was a character and more of an environment kind of thing. And so that's sort of what you have to do. You have to push yourself, but then at the same time you can't really push yourself if you don't have the motivation to do so. So yeah, my take on improvement is, if improvement is something you really want to do, you'll get there in time, and you're constantly improving anyway as long as you're doing the thing. And it's not just exclusively for art, because if this applies to things like playing guitar or writing or singing, you need to practice to get better, and you get better the more you practice, and then you have to practice things that are a bit different, a bit varied, and the more you push yourself, the more you're going to gain from each thing that you tried. I play guitar, but I haven't really played guitar seriously for ages, and that's alright, but lately I've been playing it more just to decompress from all the drawing I've been doing, and I've been improving a lot just because I've been doing it a lot, and I've been improving drawing a lot because I've been drawing a lot too. So it really is more of a matter of practice and trying to keep your motivation up. And I have a few tips for keeping your motivation up in terms of like finding out things to learn. So for example, I was in a bit of a motivational rut for a while, but then I found some new YouTube channels, and that shot my motivation straight up in it, because I was learning from a different source. Because obviously you're subscribed to YouTube channels that you really like, and then you really like them and you stay loyal, but if you just watch only one YouTube channel for art all the time, you're not going to benefit from it so much, because they sort of go through the same process. And so every time I find a new YouTube channel that I really enjoy and I think is suited towards my learning process, I really benefit from that, and I get a new surge of inspiration and new development and all sorts of things. So yeah, I found a couple new YouTube channels and I got really motivated, and then I've just been more motivated in general for drawing, like in my sketchbook and digitally, because this is like my third digital painting in 2 weeks. Usually I used to do maybe 3 a month, and now I did 3 in 2 weeks, on top of so many traditional drawings. 65 pages in my sketchbook in the last 3 weeks, I think. Yeah, so practice, staying motivated, don't stay in your comfort zone, kind of branch out from your comfort zone to try to experiment new things, and just remember why you're doing it, because you love art, you want to improve, you're reaching towards a goal, like, I don't know, a job, or you're in school or something for art. So yeah, that's my take on improvement, and it applies to more than just drawing, of course. So let me know what you think about all this. Let me know if you know any good videos that also discuss this subject. I'd be really interested in hearing about them. Also let me know if you like this painting, if you think it looks any better than the original, or if you like the aesthetic that the old version had. There's not that much long left in the video at this point. It's just finishing up this overpainting layer, and then I did a few background effects kind of thing. I did the mask with the wand, and so the silhouette of the character looks really sharp and pixely and yucky, so especially in the hair I had to go over all the edges with the chalk brush to try to even it out. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this drawing came out. I like the effect that the reflected light had. I haven't really done that many paintings with light backgrounds recently, so it was nice to try to experiment with a more light cast and a lighter reflected light that's a light blue. Light blues are easier to work with than light dark blues or some sort of desaturated thing, even though that blue's fairly desaturated. It's light, so it doesn't really read that way. That hand could have been a bit better. Both hands could have been a bit better, but I still think it's a huge step up from the original. There I'm adding a bit more ambient sort of thing, so he doesn't stick out from the background that much. Messing with the levels, messing with the curves, and I think that's pretty much it. So make sure to watch my last video if you haven't already. The link was in the card. Follow me on Instagram and DeviantArt and Twitter, because I'm more active on Instagram now than anything, but if you message me on any of those, I'll be right there. My handle should come up here in a sec. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.